This video serves to analyze inter-team conflict and the effective communication principles and methods used to resolve this conflict.
Formative and Pharmco are two pharmaceutical companies with operations in South Africa and France respectively. They merged to form Formative. Formative now has core team leaders with their respective sub-teams and operations in both South Africa and France. This means their main form of communication is virtual. Distance means everything is separate, whether it's culture, stress, social, cultural, or identity-based.
Didier Amrani, a Frenchman, is the project manager of Vigilance, one of the main projects within the company. He has a very authoritarian type leadership style and has been dismissing any input given by South African core team members. He has often cancelled meetings and made decisions without consulting other core team members, and particularly not consulting with South African members. South African members feel their input, derived from a similar project they were a part of, called Perspective, is not being taken under fair consideration by Didier or the rest of the core team. Further, they feel strongly that there is poor communication throughout the project, and subsequently, sub-teams are falling behind and Vigilance is ailing.
Didier is completely unaware of the conflict that exists within the core team members and the sub-teams. However, the SA members have complained to the managing director of Formative, Lance Paulson, who is South African. Lance has arranged a meeting with Didier to manage the conflict by addressing Didier's communication methods, leadership, and decision-making skills. Yes, please come in.
Good morning, Didier. How have you been? When last did I see you? Must have been in Johannesburg last December?
Lance, I'm very well, thanks, and you? Yes, it's about time you made your way to Paris. How was your trip?
Good, good. Well, I'm only here for 3 working days, so unfortunately there's not much time for sightseeing.
Aren't you coming back in June to Paris? I'll definitely give you a tour then.
In June, I'll take you up on that for sure. But for now, we need to get down to business.
Of course.
The agenda for this meeting is to address the challenges experienced by the South African team, and furthermore to develop solutions for the South African team's concerns going forward.
You travelled all the way to Paris for this. I'm sure their concerns aren't too serious. I mean, Vigilance is running smoothly and effectively as ever.
The reason I felt it was important for us to meet face to face is because Lungelo, after consulting with Mlani and Rainier, has expressed that she feels communication between the core team members throughout the project as a whole is insufficient. What is your standpoint to the level of communication within the team?
I don't know where Lungelo is coming from with this problem. I mean, we hold weekly teleconferences for core team members, and Kareem, the global user lead, and Berlin, the global IS lead, are the focal points for passing information across the sub-teams. I mean, occasionally teleconferences are cancelled, but this is due to uncontrollable or unforeseen circumstances.
So these meetings between core team members are really cancelled?
Yes, really.
I understand that you may see these cancellations as rare, but records show that the last 4 to 5 meetings this month have been cancelled. There have also been complaints that meetings have been cancelled without notice. Now, the reason why core members are finding this a problem is because they often have pressing information they would like to discuss with you and other team members. But so on that note, can we agree that no more than 2 teleconferences per year may be cancelled from now on?
Yes, that should be fine. But I mean, ordinarily, this many meetings in a month aren't usually cancelled.
Oh, great. I'm glad that we agreed on that then. It's important that these meetings run effectively because they are key to communication within the core team. How do you feel these meetings run?
The meetings run smoothly and effectively, and we adhere to the agenda of the meeting, and we never run over time.
I have been told that you run these meetings very orderly and efficiently. I mean, in that you adhere strictly to the agenda of the meeting. This can be good. Nalani described this as being good as it is a project manager's job to monitor what occurs during team meetings. However, in these circumstances, whereby core members live in different countries, and this is something my pal stressed, it's not possible to rely on informal communication in the halls to fill in the gaps, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, please proceed.
This means that there needs to be more time for open communication on information not accounted for in the agenda. And more importantly, core team members need to be able to add topics onto the agenda before the meetings. How do you propose we implement that?
That's a good question. I can upload the agendas on Google Docs, and team members could add to the agenda, and I can allocate a half an hour to non-agenda items.
The conversation starts with Lance and Didier exchanging some small talk. Small talk is where it all begins, and if you want to get somewhere, it helps to start at the beginning. It is a way to connect with each other and is the first step to get someone to engage with you healthily. Therefore, through this exchange of small talk, Didier gives Lance his attention.
Once these simple formalities are over, the true purpose of the conversation can be addressed. Generally, there are two methods as to how to communicate to your listener, through either deductive reasoning or inductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is a theoretical term for giving background information and general facts before getting to the key point at hand. Many listeners judge the style of communication as waffling or rambling. Inductive reasoning, on the other hand, is whereby you start your conversation by getting to the point, by being specific, and then moving on to the more general but relevant material. In this case, Lance uses inductive reasoning, which is the best method in this case. Didier likes to focus his meetings on the agenda at hand, with only a maximum of 10 minutes given for non-agenda issues. Therefore, he prefers getting straight to the main point. This is exactly what Lance does here, by starting with the most relevant point at the beginning. However, Lance has not effectively profiled Didier, as he responds to the agenda very negatively. In order to get to know someone, you profile them by gaining an understanding of where they are coming from, what your communication will mean to them, and how they might react to it before you speak.
Lance proceeds by addressing Didier's communication between the core members and throughout the project. He uses effective communication by explaining his decisions as to why he needed to come all the way from France, as Didier sarcastically puts it. This is the next step in inductive reasoning, as Lance goes into details explaining his project. However, in explaining his reasoning, Lance names the individuals who raised the concerns, which could in the future result in discrimination and conflict arising between individuals in the team.
Lance then uses an open question to find out Didier's view on the level of communication within the team. This encourages communication by Didier and gets the conversation truly started. This type of question is thought-provoking and can evoke a variety of possible answers. It gets the ball rolling.
Lance listens to Didier's answer carefully by acknowledging Didier by nodding, thereby allowing Didier to feel as if he was being heard. Didier follows up by asking a probing question to delve further into the issue of meeting between being cancelled. This is an effective use of communication as it asks for clarification and allows for Lance to get a specific answer to the main problem at hand.
Didier gives a short answer and doesn't answer the question fully, but Lance intelligently does not get aggravated and stays calm by suspending judgment on Didier's answer. This doesn't result in Didier becoming annoyed and emotional about the issue at hand. Lance then focuses on the problem and not the person, which is the best method when you want the listener, Didier, to listen carefully and for your listener to move from being a floater to being a converted listener. A floater will listen to you and engage with you. Didier is a floater since he knows the meeting has to be somehow important, as Lance flew all the way from South Africa to France for this issue. Lance focuses attention on giving Didier more information and explaining parts which Didier didn't understand in simpler terms. Thus, Didier and Lance end up agreeing on the issue of cancellation of meetings.
Lance is happy about their agreement on this matter and expresses this to Didier. The conversation progresses towards the topic of how meetings are run. Lance asks Didier his viewpoint on this by asking an open question which enables the conversation on this issue to begin. Didier is narrow-minded in his answer to the topic. Lance firstly responds by praising Didier for his running of his meetings, which makes Didier feel good and doesn't make him feel attacked. Lance explains his decisions as to why he finds there is a problem which needs to be resolved, particularly the lack of informal conversation due to there only being virtual communication between the South Africans and French. Lance makes sure that Didier is following his reasoning by using a closed question. These types of questions sum up and confirm actions at the end of an interaction. Lance, though, then continues further into the topic and could have improved his communication by rather using more probing and mirroring questions and only finally using a closed question until he is fully happy that Didier understands what is required in the future.
The conversation progresses on how to improve open communication. Didier gives some good answers, but once again, Lance doesn't ask questions for clarification, which may result in problems.
Those are fantastic suggestions. I look forward to following up with core members on how this has improved communication within the group. But next I want to address SA members' concerns towards their members' contributions to vigilance. How do you feel their suggestions and input contribute to vigilance?
Well-
I'm sure that you're aware of the project these members have made in the project perspective before the merger.
Of course.
This was an intense, time-consuming project, which was near to completion before the merger, and which was abandoned for the similar but more appropriate project, Vigilance. Their experience from their work on this project is certainly a great asset to Vigilance. Having said that, Lungelo, Nalani, and Munier feel their input is not valued, and they feel their perspective are not taken under their consideration, for fair consideration.
I don't understand why they would feel that way. Their suggestions are always taken carefully and considered carefully. They can't always get their way though.
You're wrong. Okay. To give you an example, Munier David, the core team's lead for training, told his South African colleagues, the norm here is don't provide your opinion when asked. I mean, until asked. At which point they'll tell you what your opinion is.
Well, that is certainly not appropriate, and I will be sure to reprimand him about that comment.
But this is not just about David's. SA members feel France core members respond negatively to any input or suggestions which are derived from their experience through perspective. This is to the point that any mention of perspective is considered taboo. Furthermore, they feel the key decisions are being made without their discretion. I mean, apparently, you even refer to the France core members and yourself as core members. Clearly, your statement excluding the SA members from the core, I mean, that made them feel excluded, unimportant, and alienated.
I mean, it's not my fault when Gallup misinterpreted what I was saying. I merely thought the problem was easy enough to settle here in France, without the need of getting too many people involved. You think communication is a problem? I was merely reducing the need for communication.
I see what you're saying. But Didier, one of the main reasons or lessons SA members have learned through perspective is to stress communication. Ironically, the poor communication within the core team means SA members have been unable to stress the importance of communication in this particular project. Nalani explained to me that it is vitally important to keep all members informed on progress because systems development is dynamic. Furthermore, she stressed that without proper progress communication, sub-teams often quickly head down different paths, and this results in one or both teams having to rework their design, creating time delays that ripple throughout the project schedule and leading to bad feelings within the team.
Well, the project hasn't been rescheduled. Vigilance is operating perfectly on time, so it's not fair to assume that the same problems experienced with perspective will be experienced with Vigilance.
Lance decides to quickly move on to the next topic, Didier's leadership. Lance particularly addresses the issue on contribution by South Africans to the Vigilance project. Lance asks the question which encourages communication, but does not allow Didier to answer it, even though he needed some time to think. The notion silence is golden and the concept of active listening is not applied in the circumstance by Lance, and instead he moves on to another question. This may seriously damage Lance's ability to have a good conversation, and we then see in the next answer, Didier only gives a one-word answer. Didier may now feel disinterested and perhaps irked because he was not given a chance to answer the question.
Lance decides to then talk about the Perspective project. Didier interrupts Lance, and since he is already rather annoyed by being ignored earlier, he wants to give his opinion on the matter. Lance behaves terribly to this by firstly not showing empathy to Didier. Lance needs to rather show that he understands what Didier is going through by putting himself in Didier's shoes. Lance also doesn't use validating language, but instead blatantly says, "You are wrong." This obviously offends Didier, and hence the example Lance gives to Didier isn't seen to be constructive criticism by Didier.
Lance avoids Didier's response to the criticism and transgresses the conversation to focus on SA members not feeling their opinion is worth much, if at all, and that Didier does not value their experiences on working on the Perspective project. Lance's communication is very subjective and uses ineffective communication by referring to the core team adversity and attacking the person, Didier, and not the problem. In this situation, Lance should have rather stayed calm and been objective by giving Didier the benefit of the doubt. He should have concentrated his communication on the problems and how to constructively resolve this.
Didier has a firm belief on how to handle the communication by only including the French members. Lance suspends his judgment, which is an effective way to then be able to give his opinion on the matter, and will mean that Didier will listen to what Lance is saying. In his explanation of the importance of communication, Lance touches on the subject of time delays. Didier addresses this, and the conversation moves on to this. The problem, though, is that Didier does not check, through the use of probing and closed questions, that Didier understands what Lance means by using effective communication. Instead, the conversation moves on without this being finalised. The conversation therefore could have been improved by Lance rather focusing Didier's attention back to communication and only focusing on time delays later on in the conversation.
I'm glad you brought that up. There is evidence that sub-teams have in fact fallen behind schedule despite the delivery date remaining unchanged. These timeline slippages, as described by the SA part of the core team, are directly related to sub-team communication breakdowns. It is very important that we fix this communication breakdown because sub-team stress and confusion is mounting. In fact, tensions have gotten to the point where people were actually storming out of meetings because they were frustrated by what they were being asked to do on short notice without sufficient information. So what do you propose is the best way to handle these situations?
Well, it sounds like core members and sub-teams need to improve communication and openness towards problems within the project, such as timeline slippages. Maybe we need to extend the final deadlines to reflect a more realistic time frame. In order to decrease these sub-team communication breakdowns, we could hold weekly teleconferences with all sub-team members involved.
Extending the deadlines and holding teleconferences should definitely solve these issues. On a side note, I'm sure you recall 10 months post-merger, there was supposed to be a brief cross-cultural awareness workshop, which was held together with an upcoming face-to-face status update meeting that would include members of both the core team and the sub-teams. The decision to cancel this meeting was made without my consent. And according to many core members, you told them I did give consent for the meeting cancellation. The problem lies in that the SA core team wanted this opportunity to discuss and improve team processes, and therefore I would not have been able to give consent for the cancellation. Moreover, the less than truthful reason given for cancelling the workshop severely undermined what little trust and rapport remained within the core group. Should another similar event occur, I will be forced to remove you from your management position of the core team of Vigilance.
I guess I understand.
You must know the level of importance your leadership and decision-making skills have to this project. I mean, should you be able to aid communication between the core members and sub-teams in France and SA effectively, SA members should begin to feel less reluctant to raise issues, and they would be most likely to participate fully and have enthusiasm for the project. I have faith that these conflicts can be resolved with you at the forefront of the conflict resolution. I shall be back in France in June, and we shall have a follow-up meeting then to make sure everything is on track and going smoothly. Over the next few months, I hope to hear positive responses and results for Vigilance. Finally, thank you for meeting with me today.
Thank you very much.
The conversation moves on to address Lance's decision-making, but firstly time management of the project. Lance explains his decisions as to why he needs to address the time delays, which are apparent in the sub-teams. Lance asks for Didier's opinion as to how this problem can be sorted. Hence, Lance encourages communication by Didier.
Lance listens to Didier's answer carefully and hence shows that he respects Didier's opinion on this matter. Lance does this by paraphrasing a specific part of Didier's answer. Lance is happy with the solution given, and on a side note, he discusses the cross-cultural workshop which was cancelled. Lance attacks the person and not the problem by expressing that Didier was the reason for the problem. This shows Lance being assertive. This assertiveness was required since Didier has a competitive conflict style, and later on, Lance warns Didier that another transgression similar in nature by him will result in a negative consequence. This creates fear and shows that Lance means business. The conversation would have probably been improved if Lance did this near the start of the conversation, because it would have definitely given Didier a reason to listen carefully and give Lance his utmost attention throughout the entire conversation.
Lance finishes off the conversation by being very polite, but makes sure to stress the importance of the main topics discussed throughout the conversation, namely communication, leadership, and decision-making skills. He arranges a follow-up meeting in order to ensure that the purpose of the meeting is met and the problems addressed throughout the conversation are met.
In conclusion, we must make cognizance of the fact that due to limited information, the role play and analysis was conducted under the assumption that the information was unbiased and was a fair representation of the situation. However, in reality, the case study report was given from the South African team's viewpoint, hence may be biased. Thus, the reports by the French team and sub-teams, as well as executives, needs to be taken into account for the best course of action to be made.
Well done, guys.